The designer here is relatively new to gCADPlus and would like some help on how to print or plot this drawing out on an A3 sheet at a scale of 1 to 100. If we go into his current layout view, I'll turn Snap and Grid off, and if I pick the floating viewport here, notice that the view scale is 0.1499. That's an unusual scale. Clearly it's not 1 to 100. I'll go back into the model space and just check sizing here. If I select this compost bin here and note that its diameter is 1.094, so I suspect that what's happened here is that this designer has created the base plan here using meters rather than millimeters, and that's certainly going to complicate things in the layout environment because our sheets are measured in millimeters and our main model here is drawn in meters, so we need to make the two match. So to do that, I'll select the design, right click and pick scale, nominate 0,0 as a base point and simply type 1000, then unselect all, right click. You can see I'm using right click a lot here, and now if I pick that compost bin lid, its diameter is 1094.086. Well, I think we could probably make that 1100 and that would be more than enough accuracy. So I'm pretty certain that that circle was just put down as an arbitrary size. We do have, under Library and Details, we have bins. So we could bring in a Organics 240 wheelie bin and insert it into the drawing and just see if we could put it alongside that compost bin, and there's certainly enough space to do that. So everything in gCADPlus in your plan in the metric environment is normally drawn in millimeters. If we now move to our layout space, notice that we've lost our porthole or our view into the design. That's because everything's been scaled up. Now you could double click in there and then try and readjust the view, but it's a lot easier just to delete the floating viewport, right click, add a new viewport, and that will automatically give us a view back into the design. And now if we select the floating viewport there, we have a view scale of 137, which makes a lot more sense. Let's make it 100 and see what we are left with. I'll unselect all. You'll see that we need to reorganize things just a little in the model so that things show up the way we want. I'd be inclined first to move this frame here. Is, if we look in the properties box, it's actually a logo. I'd be inclined to delete that, and we'll put the logo and other information in the layout space. I'll also move this text here. I'll move it across and to the right because all we really need, we don't need details of that information that we've just moved can be put into the title block in layout space. Now the text in the legend to the right hand side, which when I select it I find it's actually a block, I'm going to explode that. I think the text is relatively too large and we need a bit of extra space, and I'd be inclined to put the line weight back to by layer, and the height, let's make it 350 or a final plot scale of 3.5, which fits this one happens to be from Australia, that fits the Australian drafting standard. So now we can pick modify, match properties, pick up the properties of this one and then just match it to all the other pieces of text there. Let's pop back into layout space and see how things are looking. Or we could move this group of legend information, we could, in order to squeeze things in, we could move that group quite a bit closer to the design, and we're also not able to see those two pieces of text, so I'll bring them back to a final plot size of 350, and I'll move the carport one into there, the residence piece of text like so, and we'll go back into our layout and see how we're looking. I could increase the size of the floating viewport a little. I could probably move it a little to the right and further to the right, and we can now set it fixed scale, yes, and we're now looking, apart from the information on the dwelling there, we're nearly ready to print and plot. Well, I've rotated the text for carport and residence. That gives us a little more room, and I've got the north point here. I needed to move the N across like so, and let's look at the layout now. I've popped the logo for the site there. I can now read all of the text. It's readable. The text here, sandpit, cubby and so on, I think is got far too heavy a line weight associated with it, but I'm relatively happy. So we're now ready to print. File and print. My printer is a Qt PDF writer, a free PDF writer. I'm going to print to paper. I'm going to print at a scale of 1:1. If I select fit to paper, can you see I've got a scale 1 to 1,009. So we're happy there's a scale of 1 to 1. And we're centering the print, and we're ready to go. So all we need to do is click OK, and that will generate a high quality 600 dpi PDF file of showing this design at a scale of 1 to 100. Let me cancel from there. What I like to do is to add from our library details and scale bars. I'd like to add a 5 meter scale bar and bring it into the model space. I will just pop it down here. Now let's look at the layout. So there's our scales. So should anyone want to print this design off instead of an A3, they might want to go to an A2 sheet. This scale bar comes with it and gives much better size, or is less ambiguous than printing to an A2 sheet without that scale bar, and for it, the notes in the title block may well say 1 to 100, but might not have mentioned the paper size. So try and cover all possible bases when you're doing this sort of work. So I hope that helps a beginner print a drawing to a fixed scale.